Ray Charles, Find Another Way by Susan Sloate. The worst seats. Blind musician Ray Charles and his band got off their big touring bus. They had just reached the concert hall in Augusta, Georgia. That night, Ray expected to play for his fans, who loved his swinging rhythm and blues music. However, the promoter told Ray that the audience had to be segregated. In the 1950s and 1960s, black and white people weren't allowed to sit together in the concert hall. Black audiences, Ray's most faithful listeners, had to sit high up in the balcony. These were the worst seats. Ray didn't think it was fair. Ray fights back. Black people came to Ray's concerts, bought his records, and loved his music. He thought they deserved better seats, and he suggested that they sit closest to him and the white people sit in the balcony. The promoter said no. In the South, white people always had the finest seats. Ray decided that he and his band wouldn't play in Augusta. It was wrong to force his best fans to take the worst seats. The promoter reminded Ray that he had signed a contract. If you don't play, the promoter said angrily, I'll sue you. Go ahead, Ray said calmly. Ray always wore dark glasses to protect his eyes from dust and pollen. Growing up poor, Ray knew he would find a way to fight that promoter. As a child, Ray learned not to give up when times were tough. Ray was born on September 23, 1930, in Albany, Georgia. Soon after, he and his mother, Retha, moved to Greenville, Florida. His brother George was born in this poor country town. Ray's interest in music began when he was about 3 years old. Mr. Pitt, who owned a local restaurant, taught him how to play the piano. Ray spent hours practicing. He loved making his own sounds. Ray liked to listen to jazz, swing, and country western music on Mr. Pitt's jukebox. Ray and George played together while Mama did other people's wash to earn money. One day, George fell into Mama's big wash tub and couldn't get out. At first, Ray thought George was fooling around, but he wasn't. Before Ray could get help, George drowned. He was only 4 years old. Unfortunately, there was more sadness to come. A few months later, Ray noticed a cloudy liquid in his eyes, and he had to wash it out every morning. In a few months, Ray could hardly see. The doctor gave him some medicine, but it didn't help. Ray began to go blind. By the age of 7, Ray could only see shadows. Yet Mama would not let him feel sorry for himself. She wouldn't let other people help him either. She told him, there's always another way to do something if you look for it. Find another way. Mama made Ray do chores at home so he could learn to be independent. She taught him to use his memory instead of his eyes to guide his hands as he worked. Soon, however, Ray couldn't see at all. Mama decided to send him to a school for the deaf and blind in St. Augustine, Florida. Alone, Ray traveled hundreds of miles by train to get there. At school, Ray missed his mother, but he got used to being away from home. He learned to read Braille, and he was taught to make mops and chair bottoms so he could earn a living. Most important, Ray studied music. In school, at about age 10, Ray learned to write and arrange music in Braille. And this is Ray playing the saxophone during a performance in Jacksonville, Florida. Ray spent summers at home with Mama, and during his vacations, he played piano and sang with local bands to make money. In 1945, when Ray was about 15 years old, his Mama died suddenly. Now, Ray was alone. He decided to quit school and move to Jacksonville, Florida to work as a musician. About a year later, Ray moved to Seattle, Washington. He started a band and began to record his own music. He also had a local television show, and everybody loved his rhythm and blues music. They packed clubs to hear him, and Ray became a well-known musician in Seattle. Ray changed his name from Ray Robinson to Ray Charles. He didn't want people to confuse him with the boxer Sugar Ray Robinson. Ray's records began to sell well, and he started to travel with his band. However, because he was black, he was often not allowed to stay in some hotels or eat in certain restaurants. But still, he kept working, and soon he became famous around the country. Facing the music, at the time Ray refused to play in Augusta, millions of people were fighting to end segregation. They were working hard so that black people could get the same rights as white people. Ray hadn't joined that fight yet. He was spending his time writing songs and touring the country. As he had promised, the promoter sued Ray, and Ray decided he would fight back. He knew his case would be tough to win. Though separating black and white people was wrong, it was legal in Georgia and other states, and a judge might decide that Ray had broken the law. The verdict. When they went to court, the promoter said Ray had broken their contract, and he wanted to be repaid the money he lost when Ray refused to play. Ray said he was protecting his black fans, and he felt laws separating black and white people were wrong. While he was fighting his court case, Ray also formed his first big band, the Ray Charles Band, had about 20 players with many brass instruments. The judge ignored Ray's protest about segregation. He saw only that Ray had not honored his contract, and the judge ordered Ray to pay more than $2,000 to the promoter. Ray was one of the first performers to challenge those unfair laws, and though he lost the case, his actions encouraged other famous people to join the fight. The court battle made Ray think more about the civil rights movement. He saw that people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. were trying to change those unfair laws. Ray admired Dr. King and his peaceful marches and protests. Ray decided to get involved. However, he couldn't join the marches. There were some people who didn't like Dr. King or his ideas, and they might throw glass bottles and other dangerous things at the marchers. Since Ray was blind, it wasn't safe for him to walk with the others, so instead he helped raise money for Dr. King, and he refused to play any concerts that were segregated. Ray never let his disability get in the way. In the 1960s, he built his own recording studio in Los Angeles, and he recorded more than 300 songs there. Sometimes Ray even drove a car. A friend who sat beside him that could see was on the road, would tell him what was on the road ahead. And Ray was able to play chess on a board specially made for blind people. In 1979, Ray was finally welcomed back to Georgia. At a State House ceremony, he got a standing ovation. The governor apologized for the state segregation laws, and Ray sang his signature song, "Georgia on My Mind." Ray stayed busy to the end of his life, and he played his music all over the world. He was loved everywhere he went, and Ray appeared in many movies and commercials that introduced him to the new, younger fans. And he also recorded songs with many famous singers and musicians. On June 10th, 2004, at the age of 73, Ray Charles died. He left behind hundreds of songs and millions of fans who called him Brother Ray. His music moved people of all ages. And though Ray's life hasn't always been easy, Ray never gave up. He always found a way to make things better.